guys, this is, I guess, part 2 of really the one commandment that Moses kept telling the Israelites. And the reason this is a second video is because I want to show you what Moses said and compare it to what Jesus said. So we're going to start in Deuteronomy 30. And it says, "So it shall be when all these things have come upon you," all of the third time Moses is saying, like, you really need to be with all these, you be with all these people, but you have to still be separate and for me. "There will be blessings and curses which I have set before you, so call them to mind in all the nations that God banishes you." This is when he says, like, when you don't follow God, you do not get prosperous in the land. And God will use other nations to take away your peace, to remove you from the promised land. And then you will be in a whole other area. And a lot of times in the Old Testament, it shows all throughout the Old Testament of wars and them getting taken to other lands and then calling on the Lord and him bringing them back and restoring them. So it says, "And you return," verse 2, chapter 30 of Deuteronomy, "and you return to the Lord your God and obey him with all your heart, all your soul, according to all that I command you today, and your sons." So all of your generation plus your family. "And then the Lord your God will restore you from captivity," like we just said, "and have compassion on you, and again will restore you, gather you again from all the peoples where he spread you out." You cannot go so far that he will not bring you back in, by the way. "Moreover, the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants." Why is he going to cut the outer part off? Because he's cutting off what is necessary in order to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, that you may live in relationship with him. So when my daughter pulls up a flower from our garden, I'm like, oh no, it's going to die unless you pulled up the roots and you can replant it again. God wants to sometimes pick you up and replant you. You feel like you're dying because you've been disconnected from the source, but sometimes he does replant you and you continue to thrive and live in him, right? So, that you may live. "The Lord your God will inflict all these curses on your enemies and hate those who persecuted you." So he will turn on the people who he used against you. Okay, "Then the Lord will prosper you abundantly by the works of his hand and your offspring. For the Lord again will rejoice over you for good." You're doing a good job. Good job, sweetheart. You can do it. "Just as he rejoiced over your fathers." They did such a good job. They did. They had faith in him. They followed him, and it was credited to them. They did fathers. Verse 10, "If you obey the Lord your God to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law, if you turn to the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul." Oh no, he will only do that promise if you do it first. "For this commandment which I command you today is not too difficult for you." He doesn't say this is outside of your options. He doesn't say this is way out there, I can't reach it. For again, it's not out of your reach. It's not in heaven that you should say, oh, who's going to go up to heaven and get it for us so that we can see it? Nor is it way out in the sea so that we can't even reach it. But the word is very near you. Verse 14. How close is it? It's in your mouth and in your heart, that you may observe it. He literally planted it there. He said, I'm giving it to you. You plant it and it will come forth from your heart and your mouth. So inside and out. This part says choose life. Good question. Let's see what it says. Verse 15, see, I have set before you today life and prosperity and death and adversity. Your choice. The red pill or the green pill. Your choice. In that, I command you today to love the Lord your God. Why does he have to command you? Because he's legitimately saying, I mean it. This is not an option. This is not a request. This is not a suggestion. This is a command, a decree from royalty, from the master, from your owner, from the Lord of heaven and earth. To what? To do what? What did you command me to do? To walk in his ways and to keep his commandments and statutes and judgments, that you may live and multiply. That's what he called you to do from the very beginning. Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, he said to what? Be fruitful and multiply and take care of the earth. That was his command. So again, he's saying, when I give you the promised land, be fruitful, multiply, take care of the earth. Steward it. Here is your job. Here's what you were made to do. Again. But I hate when that comes, because he knows what's coming. Verse 17, but if your heart turns away and you will not obey, but are drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, other things, other enticements, other innocent entertainment, informational books, self-help books. He gave you a self-help book. Books on what to do in this situation and how to get out of depression. He gave you that book. Books on what to do in relationships. He gave you that book. Books on what's my purpose in life. He gave you that book. Guys, all the answers. This book is called The Truth. Why? Because this is where you can find an answer to almost any question you can ask. Try it. I have not found, I haven't gone to this book with a question and not gotten an answer. Why? Because the source is the one who created all things, and whom all things are in him. In the beginning. That's how the book starts. In the beginning of what? Him. Okay, sorry, I digress. But if you turn your hearts away, no, don't turn to the right or the left, because there's other things on the right and the left of you. There is. You will not obey. If you turn, just slight turn, and are deceived, or you make it a conscious choice, either one. So whether you meant to or not, but if your heart turns away, not your mind doesn't turn first. Your heart turns first. And you will not obey, but you are drawn away in worship of other things. Other things take your attention. Other things take your focus. Other things take priority. No. I declare to you today that you shall surely perish. So in this sentence, he literally meant, in the Old Testament, sometimes God did say, like, when you sinned, there was immediate consequences. The problem is today, after Jesus took care of all those consequences and sins, the Lord is so long suffering that it adds up and you can move away farther. So there isn't as much of maybe a buffer. Like, it isn't as immediate. So sad. But you are drawn away and worship other gods. You will perish. You will not prolong your days in the land, and you will not possess it. And here Moses goes, I call heaven and earth to witness against you. Did you know that a witness is a judicial statement? A witness is someone who sees something and testifies in like a court setting. Who is the ultimate judge, guys? the Father, the only judge. The only judge. He gives justice. When you do something wrong here on earth and you go to a judge, you want him to make it right. But in heaven, he always makes it right according to his standards. That's the problem. So if you are deceived, or if you turn a little bit with your heart, intentionally or unintentionally, if you are deceived, you will not be with him anymore. You will go away and holding the hand of a stranger who does not love you and is just bribing you with sweet words and candy. It's scary. But he says this. Why does he say verse 17? Because a parent warns their kids about danger. Just like God did in the Garden of Eden. I have given you all of this beauty, but I warn you about this tree. This tree is not your friend. It looks good. It smells good. It might feel good, but it is not good for you, because if you eat from it, you will die. This says if your heart turns you away, and you do not obey, but are drawn away from God and worshiping other gods and serving them, I declare today you will perish. You will be separated from God. You will be uprooted and out. You will not prolong your days in the land that you are crossing over to enter, and you will not possess it. I call heaven and earth to witness against you. Remember, 2 witnesses, heaven and earth. That I have set before you life and death, the blessings and curses. So choose life, guys. That's what he's saying. In order that you may live. By loving the Lord your God, obeying his voice, I'm in verse 20, and holding fast to him. Remember? I'm holding fast. For this is your life and the length of your days, that you may live in the land which God swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to them. God keeps his promises. You have to do the same. If you're married to somebody, you made a promise. You made a commitment. The two of you made a commitment in front of God, because P.S. God sees everything and he reads everything and he knows everything before it happens, and he's writing it all down. So you can't get away with anything, by the way. Just in case you thought you could. He does not He is always keeping his promises. I'm just going to say that as simple as I can. He always does. And he's asking you to just follow him, to just hold on to him with all that you have. Why? Because if you're not focusing and concentrating and really holding on really hard, then you will get distracted and then kind of like lose it and then kind of look. And then maybe you just said, I'll just sit down for a second. Oh yeah. This one. I like both of them. Then all of a sudden you keep writing and then you go, oh, no thanks. Okay, that's Deuteronomy 30. And then when Moses is gone, Joshua has to tell the people again. Joshua has to tell the people when he's about to die. Joshua's about to die. He's like, look, Moses told you when Moses was about to die. And then Joshua took over and helped everybody conquer their land. If you want to read about that, read about Deuteronomy and Joshua, okay? But he tells them, look, I am old, I am dying, and the Lord your God has been fighting for you. Verse 6 of chapter 23, be very firm then to keep and do all that is written in this book of the law of Moses, so that you may not turn aside from it to the right or the left. Remember? That's what we said. Hold on to him as hard as you can. Do not get distracted and let your heart turn, because there are other things on the right and the left. He doesn't just put you in an isolated bubble. There is other stuff to take you away from it, to distract you, to fanfare, to whatever, to the right or the left, so that you will not associate with these nations. Do not crossbreed. Do not. They are following other gods. Do not follow their gods. These which remain among you mention the name of their gods, or make anyone swear by them, or serve them, or bow down to them. Remember, I told you, God put them in the center of the promised land and then had other nations around so that his nation would choose him and not what everyone else was doing. Because trust me, everyone else was a lot of people. So they had to be still set apart, still designated to a different set of rules, still living a different looking life, speaking different things. Remember, when are you supposed to talk about the commandments? To everybody, as you're walking, as you're sitting, in your house, on the road, in lying down and standing up activity, all the time. So if you went to an Israelite town, you would hear the conversation of Moses and the laws and God and everything, hopefully. But if you went to a different town that did not follow God, you would hear the other gods. You would hear other conversations. It will make a difference if you see someone following hard after God with their whole heart, all their mind, all their soul, all their strength, everything they've got. It will come out in their words. It will come out in what entertains them. It will come out in how they act towards others, what they will say to others, how they will be in their own homes. It will permeate the entire life. You will see the fruit. Why will you see the fruit? I'm just going to turn to that. Where did you put it? You put it in Matthew, didn't you? Okay. Oh, that's right. You did. So Matthew 22:37 through 39 says the same thing-ish that Mark does in 12, verse 30 and 31, and that Luke says in chapter 10, verse 27. The reason I say all this, not because I like to hear myself talk, which is funny, but because, so Luke 10, here we go. Yep. Okay. So all three of those men write about this one encounter, I think, that this guy comes and tries to test Jesus. They do that all the time. They're going to test the God of the universe, but they don't realize it's him. Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? Jesus turns to him and says, what is written in the law? How does it read to you? So what do you think? And he answered, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus replied, you have answered correctly. Do this and you will live. Yes, because those are the first commandment, is also in Matthew is called the first and greatest commandment. And then the second one, as you guys saw, is love your neighbor as yourself. But this man says, wishing to justify himself, he said to Jesus, but who is my neighbor? So who do I have to love? In what radius do I have to love? Do I have to just love my small community? Do I have to love the people around me, all of them that I don't know everyone? Do I just do it in my city, in my town? Or do I have to love everybody? Who's my neighbor? Who do I absolutely smallest have to love to get away with this? And that's when Jesus says, quote, the parable of the Good Samaritan. Now, the parable of the Good Samaritan is basically three men see the same beaten up, bloodied man on the side of the road who's been robbed. A very religious man. So a priest, so one who is holy, set apart, and consecrated for the Lord. A Levite who also is an Israelite and set apart for God in that nation. And then a Samaritan. So a Samaritan, I believe, is one who is a mix when Jews were with Gentiles and they mixed together in a different city, and they were enemies with the Israelites, with the Jews. They were enemies. And the Samaritan, so the first guy, the priest comes by, walks on the other side, says that's not happening. I am not touching that guy. I will be ceremonially unclean, and I can't do my job. The Levite says, no, that is my enemy. I am not helping that guy. And the Samaritan goes, when he saw him, he felt compassion. He had his eyes open and he said, that's another fellow human being, and came up to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring oil on him and wine on them to clean them out and to treat them. And then he put that broken guy on his own donkey. It's his own beast. I'm assuming a donkey. And brought him to an inn and took care of him there. And then the innkeeper said, whoa, wait. This guy has no money on him and he has nothing with him. And the Samaritan says, no, I'll pay for it. I'm coming back. And Jesus says, which of these three do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell into the robber's hands? And they said, the one who showed mercy to him. And Jesus replied, go and do the same. So why did Jesus put that analogy and parable, which is a small story with a lot of depth? Why did he put that parable right after the greatest commandment and the second greatest commandment? Because the thing is, when you do the greatest commandment, when you have that first in your life, foundationally in your life, when you are holding on with all you've got, you will start to feel God's love for whom he loves the most, his people. And then it said, remember in Deuteronomy, it said that God cares about the poor, the orphan, the widow, the alien who is the foreigner. He cares about those who are in need. That is where, if you are doing the first commandment, you will automatically be the hands and feet of the Lord to do the second commandment. However, if you have missed the first commandment and you love the Lord your God only once a week, only one day a week, and you don't even love him, he asks for a lot of stuff from you, so you just kind of get together with other people to talk about him. That way you don't have to actually fix your life, correct your life, put forth a lot of effort, and take the good life. Make it as good as you can make it. It's not the point. If you just do the second commandment without the first, Jesus says in the end to the church that is lukewarm. Jesus says in the end, he says, if you just do things in my name, for others, without getting to know me, the first commandment, I will say to you in the end on Judgment Day, get away from me, I did not know you. If he doesn't know you in the greatest first commandment because you weren't doing that part, and you're just doing the second part, it does not count. It doesn't count. He does not know you. You did not know him. And the problem is, to know him, you have to fight for it. You have to put forth effort. You have to make sure and be careful. Watch for, be careful, look for, be diligent. That your heart doesn't deceive you. That you aren't distracted to the left or the right. That you don't turn away, intentionally or unintentionally. Because Moses, Joshua, Jesus, Matthew, Mark, and Luke all knew the same thing. So did John. He talked about it later. You can be deceived and swayed just like Eve. Eve and Adam had the perfect relationship. They had no sin. You are born into sin, so you're behind the 8 ball to start with. And God says, I will get you out of sin. I gave you Jesus to get you out of sin. I literally gave you. You want water? Here's the water. You have to come get it. You want a relationship with me? Here's your water. Come get it. But guess what, guys? This one's heavier than this one. Here's another analogy. If you do your work on your own, you will run out of water. You will burn out. Life will be too hard. But God says, take a drink from this one, and we are going places. And by the way, I'm the Lord your God. I will refill it so that it never runs dry. So that when you get down low to the bottom, I will bring it back up. Just come back to me. Okay, that's the point. And when some people say to me, Crystal, I think you're being deceived. Crystal, I don't think you're right. Crystal, you need to check and see which spirit you're listening to. That's a good question. When people say to me, Crystal, go do something, go serve others, go be in community, go be with other people. Do you know what I'm thinking in my head? Guys, I already know how to do that. I have been taught that well. But what God is showing me right now is I missed the commandment number 1. I missed the first commandment hard. I missed the mark hard. Not even close. I was way off. And so it will look like a huge swing to turn back and grip as hard as I can the first commandment. Why? Because that's what he said for me to do. So if I do that, he is faithful. He says, if you seek me with all your heart, you will find me. Anybody. He offers that to everybody. If you seek him with all your heart, you will find him. Then, guys, when you get the first commandment right, the second commandment will flow and it will look differently. It will flow out of relationship with the first commandment. But watch out and be diligent, because if you lose the first commandment, you will lose your life. You will lose your relationship. You will be completely uprooted by your enemy, by distraction, by the world, by society, by everything, by deception. If you don't plant back into him, the person behind this book, the person in this book, the person who is this book, the person who this book is about. This book is living and active and sharper than a double-edged sword. It judges and knows the intentions and hearts of man. Whoa. You read any other book that's going to say that about you? No. This one was God-breathed. This one has the heart of God. This one, they call Jesus the Word. 1 John 1:1. The Word was with God. The Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Jesus, the Word, loves you. And his greatest command is not to go serve the body in a church, is not to go serve the homeless, is not to go give your neighbors a bunch of cookies. That is not the greatest command. That does not show that you love the Lord. That is all show. It's about this shallow. No. You are supposed to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. And then, guess what the fruit of that is? Number 2. You will love your neighbor as you love yourself, because you will see yourself as God sees you. And you'll see yourself as God made you to be before sin. God knew you before sin. You were born here into sin. God knew you before you hit this earth. You were in him. That's why in Revelations, in one of the churches, he literally says, if you are a lukewarm Christian, which means Christ follower, if you follow Jesus and other things, he will spit you out of his mouth. Why? Because you were in there to start. And he will reject you and say, get away from me, I did not know you. And the sad thing is when Jesus says, get away from me, I did not know you, you will respond, but Lord, we did all these things. The second commandment, we did all of this in your name. Powerfully. Jesus says that matters not. We had no relationship. You did not know me. You did not follow me. You did not love me and give your life for me as I gave my life for you. That's what he wants. Jesus wants all or nothing, hot or cold. All your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength, or not. And really, like I said in my testimony, the video before, it's not anyone else's responsibility but your own. Someone can encourage you, a pastor, a teacher, a mentor, a friend, a spouse, a sibling, an adult, a parent. Anyone can encourage you, but really on Judgment Day, it's just going to be you and God. You will not be able to do what Adam and Eve did when God came to them and said, wait, where are you? And they said, we're hiding from you. We were scared. And he said, who told you you were naked and ashamed? And Adam goes, no, it was her. She told me. And then she goes, no, it wasn't me. It was the snake. On Judgment Day, you cannot say, I wasn't told. The pastor didn't tell me. The teacher didn't tell me. My parents didn't tell me. My friends didn't tell me. You will not be able to say that. You will not bring up your spouse and go, look, so I thought I was listening to you, but then he told me that I couldn't hear you and I wasn't hearing right, so I believed him. Nope. God has a specific plan for each one of you. He has a relationship with each one of you. And me as a mom, I have 2 kids. Now, sometimes if I'm with one child a lot, I will tell them, please go tell your sister X, Y, and Z. Or I'll say, please go tell your brother that I said this and this to him. Sometimes I will do that. But that's not a relationship with me and that other child. Me and that other child I want to speak to one-on-one. I want to love them one-on-one. I want to be with them and around them and interested in what they're doing and how they're doing and help them out when they can't do it themselves. I want to teach them. I want to train them. I want to show them my heart. And if I want that, what do you think God the Father wants? Of course he wants you. He's wanted you back from the beginning. That's what he wants. That's what he wants. I'm going to have to end on that note. Pull myself together. So I love you, and I will talk to you later. Bye.